for communication to the outside world. Yes, we have seen leaders and religious leaders, sometimes we go offshoots, sometimes we are off guard. There's no human being who cannot make a mistake. So that's why I say sometimes as leaders, we may be sorry. And I've come to discover for anything to succeed, a woman must be involved. And for anything to go asunder, a woman is also involved. While I was going through my notes, I came across one of these good writers, and who wrote the book of 2 Samuel. In the book of 2 Samuel, I came across chapter 21 and the verse 1 downwards. Today I want us to see there's a woman by the name Rizpah. Many of us call our boys and the girls names without knowing the origin. But today I want us to whisper and see whether this woman, the unforgettable Rizpah, if she can be anything for us in this 21st century. Because there was 3 years of famine in Israel, and David was the king. So the king called his people, and they called the Gibeonites. He wanted to make peace with them because there was a problem which their forefathers had done. So the king David called the Gibeonites and the Israelites before the Lord, and Israel had sworn to spare them, but Saul and the seed of the people did something terrible to these people called the Gibeonites. So as David said to the Gibeonites, "What shall I do for you? What do you want me to do so that I can have peace with you?" That's what he's asking in simple terms. How can I make a covenant with you? Because the Lord has given me this inheritance. Now King David has become to the throne. Saul has died. His son Jonathan has died. His family members have been killed. But here David comes to the throne. That's to give the background that David is becoming to be a king when Saul is dead. Remember, King Saul knew that God has appointed, has anointed, has set apart, has selected, has chosen David to be the king. Yes, Saul was after the life of this young man in the name of David. But God spared both David and Saul. Then verse 4, he says, the Gibeonites said to him, "Well, we shall live laying along at the king. Silver and the gold we do not need." Silver and the gold we do not need. Silver is money. Gold is very precious and very expensive. Seems during those days, silver and the gold was found in plenty. Remember the temple of Jerusalem, which was destroyed in 70 AD. Literally it was made of gold. Literally it was made of silver. And the precious stones. That's why the Jewish of those days were proud that they have a God to worship who was visible to the whole world. Yes, in Tel Aviv. That's in Jerusalem. It's surrounded by some mountains. To the east there was a mountain. And down there was the river which was flowing to the Dead Sea. Jerusalem was secure. Yes, the temple of the Lord was built in over 37 acres. A house sitting on 37 acres of land. It had 4 gates which were entering into it. And among the gates, they were divided who to use what and how. Things there were the most, they were the architectural, they are the founders of the infrastructures we have today. They are the structural and the engineers of those days. So the design of this big temple was marvelous, was wonderful, was merciful. It was all. You will just look at that temple. and you will see one of the 7 wonders of the world. The temple was built on gold, silver, and precious stones. And at the edges where there was timber needed, it was made of cedar, one of the hardest wood we have, which can last for over 1,000 years without bending it. Wajana, leave alone these things we do make here of cedar. These are just photocopies. The cedar of Lebanon, which we call of Raid Syria, which was flowing down. Remember when Solomon designed this, he sent his own people who had made the construction, the structural construction. He told them, go to the Lebanons, go to Syria, get the materials. The silver was there, the gold was there, among others. And the transportation system was so simple. It was just on using River Jordan. So from up there, the Syrians, if those of you know Israel, then that river follows down over 200 or 300 kilometers away. But the woods, the materials for building the temple of Jerusalem was done by water. All those stones and the cedar, when it's on top of water, it floats. It doesn't sink. Yes, these men of Solomon's time knew the velocity, the density, and the pressure. And then they will build big stones on cedar trees. How they were transporting, it is marvelous. They will flow all the way from Lebanon, which is Syria, down up to Jerusalem. How they were getting it out of the river, and they will put it aside to build this magnificent, this big temple. I wish to be in heaven and I see the film, the panorama of the day. Back to where we are. This is where David was a king, in Jerusalem. He wanted to build the temple, but the Lord told him, you have shed a lot of blood. You will not do it. It's your son. So David comes into the throne, knowing one thing, he will build the temple for the Lord, and he will build the palace for the king. Why did he want to build the temple for the Lord? So that the 10 commandments will have a place to sit. 37 acres of land. That was the temple of Jerusalem of the day. 37 acres. 12 gates entering into it. To the east, to the west, to the north and the south. Above all, it was so magnificent. If you look at it in the morning or in the evening, when the sun is going yonder, it was a glittering monument. It was so beautiful. I may take a whole day describing this temple. To the east, they had porches, about 5 of them. Those who were crippled took their way. Those who were lame took their way. Those who were blind took their way. Those who were dumb took their way. What am I saying? Even on the gates, they had specific routes. For those who are not able to see, they were given their routes so that they can enter into the Shalom when the waters have been disturbed. Don't get lost. I'm describing what we have just read in Samuel, that there was a king by the name of David. This David wanted to make a covenant with the Gibeonites about Yebush. The Gibeonites were not Israelites. These were people when Joshua conquered Canaan, he spared the Gibeonites. And as time went by, the Israelites wanted to convert them, they become part and parcel of them. One day, when Saul was a king, he made a covenant with them. He said, if you have honor to stay with us, there's one condition. All men all males must face the knife. And indeed, all men, old and young, faced the knife. And while they were healing, Saul did the unthinkable. Those men were in pain because they had gone through circumcision. They were in terrible pains. Those days there were no painkillers. So the men were nursing their wounds. Don't ask me where they were circumcised. Those men were taking care of their wounds while they had their pains without painkillers. I tell you, King Saul said this is their weakest point. He went and slaughtered all of them. But he had made a covenant that he wants them to become like the Jews by circumcision. And they took an oath. And they killed them. Human beings are human beings. Yes, he was a king. He was ordained by God. He was separated from others. He was elected. He was the chosen one. He was the anointed one. But he did a terrible thing to the Gibeonites. And a few of the Gibeonites who stayed longer, when he had died, they came to King David and said, the silver and the gold we don't want, but we want to make peace with you. Now David was wondering, what else can I give if you don't want silver and the gold? These men were well calculated. They knew what they were after. And when these men came, I don't know what happened. When these men came, they did the unthinkable. Then they told King David, if we follow it down there, then their demanded was that the Gibeonites said to him, silver or gold we do not want you to give us. But the king asked, then what do you want out of me? Then the men said, give us 7 men, 7 children, 7 sons of Saul, and deliver them to us, and we can have peace. 7 men, 7 sons of King Saul. But those of us sometimes read the other side, we say 7 is a perfect number. God created this world in 6 days, and on the 7th day, he set it aside. He blessed it and sanctified it. 3 things. Set it apart, blessed it, and sanctified it. Period. You can argue until tomorrow, but that's what the Bible says. Don't know whether I'm talking to somebody. God created this world in 6 days. And on the 7th day, he set it aside. He blessed it and sanctified it. Period. These men, the Gibeonites, are asking for 7 men, a perfect number. One we have said, 7 is set aside, 7 is blessed, 7 is sanctified. Yes. God has 7 eyes, the 7 spirits of God. There is a lot of 7. I wish today I would have dealt with the 7, but today I'm not dealing with the numbers. But I'm here dealing with the recipe that this woman becomes into freeing that the king spared Mephibosheth, the son of Jonathan, the son of Saul, that's the grandson, because of the Lord's oath that he between him, David, and Jonathan the son. But King David took 2 sons of Rizpah, the daughter of Ai, who Zippor with Saul as the husband. Bear in mind, this Rizpah was a concubine. When Saul died, Abner took her as a wife. This is customary This is traditionally, this is culture of the Jews. It's not of the Bible. Get me clear. This is not the plan of God that we men should inherit women. Get me clear. It is from the Bible, but this one, I must put it clear, this is the culture. This is the tradition. These are the custom of the Jews, not God himself. Women are not supposed to be inherited. Men who have inherited women, all are kwenu. But here we read, there was a woman by the name of Rizpah who was married to Saul, but after Saul had died, Abner took her as a concubine. That's why I'm putting a lot of emphasis. Women inheritance is a culture. It is a tradition which is outdated. I repeat, inheritance of women is an outdated culture. It is an outdated custom. It is an outdated tradition. Women are not vessels to be used. Women are not things. Women are not properties, but they are human beings. Yes, we do read that after Rizpah, the husband has died, who was Saul. She was taken over by Abner, who was the commander-in-chief. That means he was second to command. And she bore him some children. This King David, he delivered the 7 boys to the Gibeonites. And by hanging them, that's the bad news. These Gibeonites had to hang these 7 men, 2 of Rizpah, and 5 from the house of Saul. They were hanged on a tree. How long? From the beginning of the first day of the harvest to the day when it started raining. Literally over 6 months. What did this woman do? Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah, took a sackcloth, and spread it on a rock day and night. 7 or 6 good months. Day and night. What was he doing there? During the day, she was taking care of the bodies so that the ostriches and the birds of heaven cannot scorch off their eyes because they were dead bodies. And during the night, she was busy chasing the wild animals, not to eat the body of her husband, who was Saul, Jonathan, who was the son, and among others, 9 bodies on a tree. That's why we read from the book of Deuteronomy, cursed is the man who hangs on a tree. And my Savior hanged on a tree, not because he was cursed, but because I was cursed because of sin, that I can have and be delivered from sin. Terrible how sin it is. Then the message came after 6 months that David was told, your friend Jonathan, your master Saul, and 7 other bodies, making it 9, are still hanging on a tree. And there is a woman by the name of Rizpah who is taking care of that body day and night, and is sleeping on a rock. Those of us who have gone to Middle East, you understand what I'm taking. During the day it's very hot, and during the night it's very cold, extremes. Sometimes the temperatures in Israel can go up to 40 plus. And sometimes at night it may be as cold as less than 10. That the deviation is too big for one to withstand. Too hot and too cold. Thank God this is not to contact any of the diseases like pneumonia. She could have also died. But she took care of these bodies 180 days. Assuming that every month has 30 days times 6, that's 180 days. Taking care of the body of the husband, the body of his sons. I don't know what you are getting me. A woman in Israel was taken as a property. A woman in Israel was being divorced without question. A woman in Israel had no say. A woman as a Jew would never touch her body. That's why he was scared that if I take the bodies, I will be killed. So the best thing he was to do is to take care of the bodies until somebody comes to our rescue. Don't know whether I'm communicating to somebody. Yes, some of us have lost our beloved husbands. Some of us have lost our beloved wife. We have lost our beloved sons, our beloved daughters. Name them. Our fathers, our mothers, our kingpins. Never have we ever taken care of them more than a day. It is a morgue which takes care of the dead bodies. Don't know whether I'm communicating to somebody. Accidentally, when someone dies, you don't take the body to home. You don't take it to the bed. You take it to the morgue, where it is being preserved. The longest you may stay with the body is for 5 to 10 minutes after you have cried. And after you have come to your senses, you say, just give me some water so that I can drink. And if somebody was crying in the morning, and if you ask for a sip of either water or a drink, you are done. Baada ya hapa ataanza kusema, hey, my beloved husband has died. My beloved wife has died. Can we home and make arrangements when to bury it? I'm imagining that the longest time you take with a corpse may be more than 1 hour. But this woman took 180 days taking care of not one body. And the terrible thing is, if I can describe it, some of you may start looking at me and say, Mzee, let us be sincere. Those men who were cast in those days were crucified naked. So here is a mother. Naweza jijazia ingine. Rispa. How do you withstand that? What am I saying? We sometimes take things for granted. We sometimes don't know what is happening on the planet Earth. This woman, Lispa, she gives me a lot of hope. She gives me a lot of challenges. That after said and done, that she was able to take care of 9 dead bodies for 6 months. After the break, haya tuende hapo tuuze moja mbili. My director, take it over. God bless you.